Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And this next guest we had on the Ringside Radio program, and I've had the pleasure of visiting with him numerous times over coffee. And we're going to be now visiting and talking about his very unique situation. He was a very successful attorney prior to Katrina, and then some things happened after that where now he's been disbarred. But he is a critic of the Louisiana legal system, and it has some, I think, pretty compelling points to make. And let's welcome Ashton O'Dwyer, who's with us. And Ashton, how are you?
Fine, Jeff. Thank you for having me.
So your life prior to Katrina was very...
A storybook life. Mm-hmm. It was wonderful. I loved getting up to go to work in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Then Katrina happened and everything turned south.
Everything, including my pride and joy, my marriage and my children.
So you, after Katrina hit, you stayed, right?
I certainly did. I knew that government couldn't protect what I'd worked for all my life, so I decided I was going to do it.
And that caused some problems for you, didn't it?
It did. I lived on St. Charles Avenue, which was the main thoroughfare for in and out of New Orleans. Everywhere else was flooded. And videographers would stick a microphone in my face and videotape me, and I said some things that didn't sit well, all the way from the White House to the outhouse, as I put it. I was very critical of government, still am.
And you were arrested, were you not?
Yes, I was taken into custody. They never told me I was under arrest, but I was held for 16 and a half hours at Camp Amtrak, where I was brutalized. I don't know how much we're going to get into about that today. That's a whole other story.
But it's had some long-lasting effects on your health, right?
It most certainly has. Today, I walk with the aid of a cane. I need major surgery to my right knee, and it crippled me, quite literally.
You came through this process to represent 2,000 Katrina clients. Tell us how that happened.
Well, I was known because I was on the news a lot, and people saw that I was aggressive, knew what I was talking about, and wanted me to represent them. And, you know, before it was all over, I'd signed up 2,000 people or thereabouts.
They counted on you to represent them to get them justice.
That is correct. And let me emphasize that the purpose of litigation is winning, which in the case of innocent victims of Katrina means putting money in their pocket. As you and many of your listeners realize, the recovery in Katrina was zero. So something didn't work. You're not supposed to enter into a major litigation like the Katrina litigation and wind up with zero.
Do you feel bad that you weren't able to get some financial compensation for your clients?
Not only bad, I feel disgusted. And it all happened because of the greed of some very unscrupulous individuals to whom the presiding judge handed control and management of the litigation.
So walk us through what happened with the litigation. You call it a corruption of the process.
Yes. For all of its complexity, Katrina was a single issue case. Did the United States have immunity or not? If the answer to the question is no, they don't have immunity, then the federal purse is deep enough and wide enough and full enough to pay everybody, including the lawyers. But if the United States did have immunity, as was ultimately ruled by the United States Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit with the Supreme Court denying writs, then who was the next deepest pocket? The obvious answer is the state of Louisiana. And therefore, any professional, competent lawyer worth his salt would sue everybody, including the state, along with the United States. Unfortunately, and these deals were entered into secretly, Charles Fody cut some deals with some of the presiding judge's cronies, who included Calvin Fayard and Joe Bruno, who was plaintiff's liaison counsel. These guys represented the state in secret for 2 years prior to the second anniversary of Katrina. They thought that they were going to get legal fees on a $200 billion claim by the state against the United States. And, you know, the claims of the poor little innocent victims of Katrina paled in comparison to that $200 billion. But they didn't tell anybody about it. And in the meantime, all of my clients' claims against the state were thrown out of court by the presiding judge, who was feathering the nest of his buddies.
So obviously that angered you when it was thrown out of court. So how did you go from that to getting disbarred?
Well, the first thing that I did after learning about this corruption, which I couldn't believe, to be perfectly honest with you, I still can't believe it, because these people are still walking around practicing law and wearing black robes. I tried to get them recused. Then I filed a complaint of judicial misconduct against the judge. I initiated professional misconduct charges against the lawyers. And I filed the largest legal malpractice class action in the annals of American jurisprudence. That lawsuit was filed on October 23, 2008. 2 weeks after that, I was summarily suspended from the practice of law in federal court, which shut me and my clients down.
For filing a lawsuit?
They made up stuff, okay?
Did you threaten any judges or anything like that? Or
Absolutely not. I told them that they would rue the day that they ever picked on Ashton O'Dwyer, and guess what? They showed me, because I was crushed like a bug.
Let's, in our remaining minutes, and we have limited time, Ashton, let's talk about the levy board settlement that you call fraudulent as well.
All right. I say that the recovery was zero. There was a settlement with the levy board, which I wasn't involved in, of course. I was already disbarred at that point in time. But they did recover $20 million, which represented one policy limit from the liability insurer of various levy boards. Mark Schleifstein of the Times-Picayune said that some people got checks for as low as $2.50. I wish I had one of those that I could hang on my wall.
So this is peanuts, basically.
It's peanuts. It's ridiculous. And the reason that settlement was so fraudulent was those plaintiff lawyers who still controlled the litigation were trying to recover their out-of-pocket costs, and they had no way of getting those costs back after the Fifth Circuit ruled that the United States was immune. So they saw this levy board settlement as a way of not ruffling any feathers with their real client, the state, levy boards being political subdivisions of the state, and getting a pot of money, $20 million, that they could put in their pockets. They were trying to get their costs back. The Fifth Circuit saw this and slapped them down. The case then got reallotted to Lamel, and the settlement went through with Lamel's blessing. They said at that point in time, oh, we'll only take $3.5 million for our costs this time. We won't cannibalize the entire $20 million.
So it was capped at $20 million?
It was capped at $20 million. It allowed the levy board to retain non-flood assets, which included about $71 million in cash, the lakefront airport, the two marinas, their buildings on Stars and Stripes Boulevard, and the Mardi Gras fountain.
The true value of this should have been in the hundreds of millions or over $1 billion?
Well, we don't know, because the liability of the state, who should have stood behind an underinsured levy board, was never litigated. They couldn't sue their client, their secret client, the state. This is just one of the reasons that I went ballistic, okay?
And one of the many reasons why you are a critic of the Louisiana legal system today.
Yes, indeed.
Now, you've given us your email address, and you want people that out there that have stories or want to get information to you to email you, and we'll put that up there for folks. if they want to email Ashton with any information, right?
And if anyone wants a copy of that class action malpractice lawsuit, I can send it to them if they email me.
All right. Ashton O'Dwyer, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Jeff.
Very, I think, unfortunate set of circumstances of what happened, not just to you, but to so many people in that tragedy of Katrina. All right, when we come back, my final round, commentary of the week, right here on Ringside.